Good evening. The greatest chapters in history always begin with risk, and the same is true with the chapters of your life. Welcome to BMC News Live in English, brought to you by Al Hilal Hospital and Medical Centers. I am Vinod Narayanan, joining you with the daily news updates. Today's headlines.
His Majesty the King ordered financial support to low-income families. His Royal Highness the Crown Prince and Prime Minister's directive to preserve Buhair Valley as a natural reserve. WHO launched case study on Bahrain's successful COVID response. UAE released 737 inmates in time for Eid al-Adha. UAE considers 10% hike in salaries amid rising costs. Sri Lanka's crisis rings alarm for other troubled economies.
News in detail. His Majesty the King ordered financial support to low-income families. His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa directed to distribute additional financial support for low-income families to counter the effects of rising global prices. His Royal Highness the Crown Prince and Prime Minister's directive to preserve Buhair Valley as a natural reserve. His Royal Highness Prince Salman bin Hamad Al Khalifa, the Crown Prince and Prime Minister, today directed that the ecological areas in Wadi Al Buhair that contain terrain and rocky hills be considered a nature reserve and called on the relevant authorities to take the necessary ministerial measures and decisions to ensure the preservation of the area. His Royal Highness the Crown Prince and Prime Minister further directed the relevant authorities to continue their urban and infrastructure development in the Wadi Al Buhair area while taking into consideration the preservation of its protected areas. WHO launched case study on Bahrain's successful COVID response. The World Health Organization has launched a case study documenting the Kingdom of Bahrain's successful response to the COVID-19 pandemic. The study details Bahrain's wide-ranging efforts in combating the spread of the disease and highlights best practice examples and lessons learned from the pandemic. The case study was launched during a joint press conference at the Crown Prince Research Center on Tuesday, which was held on the sidelines of the visits of WHO Regional Director for the Eastern Mediterranean, Dr. Ahmed Al-Mantari. During the press conference, Her Excellency Dr. Jamila bint Al-Sayed Jawad Hassan, the Minister of Health, affirmed the Kingdom's pride in having its experience in combating COVID-19 documented by the WHO. She stressed that healthcare remains a priority for the government of Bahrain, affirming that commitment at the highest political level was instrumental to the success of Bahrain's COVID-19 response under the leadership of His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa and the constant follow-up of His Royal Highness Prince Salman bin Hamad Al Khalifa, the Crown Prince and Prime Minister. Bahrain's National Committee to Control Smoking received World No Tobacco Day 2022 award. World Health Organization Eastern Mediterranean Regional Director Dr. Ahmed Al-Mantari awarded Bahrain's National Committee to Control Smoking and all types of products of tobacco with WHO's World No Tobacco Day 2022 award. Al-Mantari pointed out to the advanced level achieved by Bahrain under the leadership of His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa in the field of health and medical care and the role of the esteemed government headed by His Royal Highness Prince Salman bin Hamad Al Khalifa, the Crown Prince and Prime Minister, for his support through the advanced level of health care during COVID-19. Royal Fund for Fallen Servicemen treats children to recreational trip. The Royal Fund for Fallen Servicemen treated the children of fallen servicemen to a recreational trip to Sif Mall Cinemas in Manama. Supported by Bahrain Cinema Company and Credimax, the event was attended by representatives of the Bahrain Defence Force and the Ministry of Interior. The movie is part of the fund's keenness to extend bridges of communication with the martyrs' families and pay tribute to the fallen servicemen who spared no effort to defend the homeland. Fund Administrative Director Sheikh Khalid bin Salman bin Khalid Al Khalifa stressed keenness to implement the visions of His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa and the aspirations of His Royal Highness Prince Salman bin Hamad Al Khalifa, the Crown Prince and Prime Minister, to care for the children of foreign servicemen and ensure their families of decent living conditions. Bahrain inspiring model for promoting peace and religious tolerance, said Foreign Minister. Minister of Foreign Affairs Dr. Abdul Latif bin Rashid Al Zayani has highlighted the Kingdom of Bahrain's efforts to consolidate tolerance, dialogue and common understanding among all religions, cultures and civilizations. He also asserted the kingdom's respect for human rights and religious freedoms, following the directives of His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa. During his participation in the International Ministerial Conference on Freedom of Religion or Belief in London, the minister expressed his pleasure to participate in this event, shedding light on the civilized record of the Kingdom of Bahrain throughout the years in ensuring freedom of religion and belief, and openness to others of all religions and races, given its strategic location as a financial and commercial center in the world. The Information and E-Government Authority and LMRI collaborate on Employability Skills Portal. The Information and E-Government Authority announced its collaboration with the Labour Market Regulatory Authority on the development of an Employability Skills Portal. The cooperation is funded by the Labour Fund, Tamkeen. The platform offers comprehensive data on the skills and jobs in demand by the labour market. IGA Chief Executive Muhammad Ali Al-Qaid said that this partnership implements the directives of the Supreme Council for the Development of Education and Training, emphasizing the importance of cooperating with all relevant entities on the ESP. Scheduled to be launched in the third quarter of the year, the portal will increase transparency in the job market by offering a rich database of information to job seekers, education and training providers, business owners, and government organizations. Bahrain's commitment to reaching net zero by 2060 stressed. Municipalities Affairs and Agricultural Minister Wael bin Nasser Al Mubarak and Oil and Environment Minister Special Envoy for Climate Affairs Dr. Mohammed bin Mubarak bin Dana inspected mangroves nurseries. They inspected the progress of the projects to meet the national goals related to the environmental and agricultural sector as part of the wide-ranging development led by His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa, with the support and follow-up of His Royal Highness Prince Salman bin Hamad Al Khalifa, the Crown Prince and Prime Minister. Al-Mubarak stressed unwavering efforts to expand green spaces and double the mangrove trees in order to reduce the effects of climate change and contribute to achieve Bahrain's net zero by 2060. He underlined the importance of implementing the National Afforestation Strategy, highlighting plans to double mangroves in Bahrain to reach 3.6 million trees by 2035. Today's COVID updates.
COVID updates brought to you by Al Hilal Hospital and Medical Centers.
Ongoing medical camp for the customers and employees at Ramiz Shopping Center by Al Hilal Muharrak. The camp include free blood pressure and diabetes checkup, along with the distribution of discount vouchers. The Indian club celebrated the World Badminton Day by organizing a badminton tournament for the badminton coaching kids on 5th July 2022. Now we will be back after a very short break.
All your favorite products under one roof in Bahrain at 27-year-old Megamart and Macromart. Bakery, fresh meat and fish, fruits and vegetables, sweets and snacks, ready-to-eat foods, dairy products, grocery or consumer goods. Megamart and Macromart, full of goodness.
Welcome back. Saudi Ministry conducted raids over 7,400 food stores in 24 hours. The Ministry of Commerce has started an intensive inspection campaign covering all food stores and outlets of essential goods across the kingdom to monitor prices and stocks of goods as part of containing price manipulation and protect the rights of consumers. Inspectors from the ministry conducted raids covering more than 7,400 food stores within the past 24 hours. The ministry is closely following upon 217 basic food products by monitoring their prices, in all regions of the kingdom through an electronic system that enables to compare prices of these commodities with the prices of neighboring countries and following upon any influences on supply and demand. Intensive inspection tours would continue over the coming days all over the kingdom as part of the ministry's resolve to contain price manipulation, monitor the stock of products, ensure the municipality of their supplies, and the availability of alternative products to create free competition for the benefit of consumers. UAE releases 737 inmates in time for Eid al-Adha. President His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan has ordered the release of 737 prisoners ahead of Eid al-Adha. The pardoned prisoners had been sentenced to jail terms for a variety of offences. His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed also pledged to settle the financial obligations of the released prisoners. The President's pardon comes within the context of the UAE's humanitarian initiatives based on values of forgiveness and tolerance, and gives the released prisoners an opportunity to start a new chapter of their life and positively contribute to the services of their families and communities. The President's annual pardon ahead of Eid al-Adha aims to enhance family cohesion and bonds, brings about happiness to mothers and children, and provides released prisoners with an opportunity to rethink their future and return to the righteous paths to lead successful social and professional lives. Emiratis dominate Forbes list of top 100 CEOs in Middle East. Emiratis dominated this year's list of top 100 CEOs in the region, with Dr. Sultan bin Ahmed Al Jaber, Minister of Industry and Advanced Technology and Managing Director and Group CEO of the Abu Dhabi National Oil Company, and His Highness Sheikh Ahmed bin Zayed Al Maktoum, Chairman of Dubai Civil Aviation Authority, Chairman of Dubai Airports and Chairman and Chief Executive of Emirates Airline and Group, coming second and third respectively. According to Forbes, this year's list consists of leaders from 26 nationalities. Banking and financial services is the most represented sector on the list with 27 CEOs, followed by 8 telecom CEOs and 7 that each head energy and logistics companies. Combined, they managed revenues of over $1 trillion last year. Their companies are collectively worth more than $5 trillion, Emirates News Agency reported. UAE considers 10% hike in salaries amid rising costs. Employee requests related to compensation and allowances are increasing as inflation consistently rises in the country, with fuel prices reaching an all-time high in July. In order to retain talent, some companies in the UAE are looking at midterm increments and increasing allowances. These included fuel stipends, since prices have jumped nearly 75% since January 2022. Thousands more evacuate in Sydney even though heavy rains ease. A wild storm system that has pounded parts of Sydney with torrential rain for 4 days has moved away from the city, satellite images showed on Wednesday. Although rivers remained above danger levels, forcing more evacuations. In Australia's third major flooding episode this year, more than 85,000 people in New South Wales, most in Sydney's western suburbs, have been asked to either evacuate or warned they might receive evacuation orders. Up from Tuesday, 50,000, authorities said. Reuters reported. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese announced a one-day off emergency cash payment of Australian dollars 1,000 for flood-hit residents during a visit to the Sydney suburb of Windsor, suffering its third major deluge this year. Sri Lanka's crisis rings alarm for other troubled economies. Sri Lanka is desperate for help with weathering its worst crisis in recent memory. Its schools are closed for lack of fuel to get kids and teachers to classrooms. Its effort to arrange a bailout from the International Monetary Fund has been hindered by the severity of its financial crisis, the Associated Press reported. But it is not the only economy that is in serious trouble, as prices of food, fuel and other staples have soared with the war in Russia-Ukraine. Alarm bells are ringing for many economies around the world, from Laos and Pakistan to Venezuela and Guinea. With that, we come to the end of today's news. Stay tuned for daily news updates in BMC News Live English at 7:30 p.m. every day. I am Vinod Narayanan signing off from BMC News Live. Good night.